Alrighty, so hello everyone. My name is Bridget. I'm the Assistant Director of International Enrollment here at Niagara University. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Before we get started, I wanted to give everyone a couple quick reminders. For our deposited families, we are hoping to receive your students' SUMA registration as soon as possible. In order to register for SUMA, you must complete the welcome portal. And with the welcome portal, it provides our academic offices the information that they need to create your child's schedule. So the sooner that is created, the better. I believe the final deadline is the 21st in order to submit those forms. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the admissions office at admissions@niagara.edu. So if you have time to work on that after this meeting, that would be absolutely stellar so we can get your child moving along into these next exciting steps. So welcome to our parent event from Career Services. Joining me today is Stephanie Morris and Krista Massaro from our Career Services office. So without further ado, I'll let them take it away. For some information, we're going to save our Q&A until the end. So if you have questions, feel free to pop those in the chat box. I'll track those for you. If you want to turn your camera on because you're feeling confident, you want to share your smiling face with us, we would love to see that too. If you're more comfortable with your cameras off, you can totally leave that off as well. So Stephanie, Krista, feel free to take it away.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bridget. We appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We wanted to just take a little bit of time to share with you some of the ways in which Career Services supports your student in their time that they're here on our campus. We want to talk a little bit about our Pathways program, and then Krista is going to talk about student employment and some opportunities there as well. So the Career Services Office we really try to be one of those one-stop shop places for our students. We're kind of running with the theme this year of get started, get ready, and get hired. It's a really interesting time right now in terms of employment opportunities. We certainly have a lot of opportunity, and our goal is to really get our students engaged in getting prepared to secure internships and jobs and helping to connect them and network them with employers. So let's talk a little bit about Pathways. Pathways is a 4-step intentional process for students. The first step is get started. And we put freshman and sophomore, we kind of lumped them together because we do find that sometimes like that first semester on campus is just a lot of information and students learning what resources are available to them. And so they might really start thinking about next steps and what is needed to secure, say, an internship or a job towards the end of that freshman year, beginning of sophomore year. But we certainly do find that early engagement of students helps to build their confidence in terms of seeking out those opportunities. So we all know that, for many of us, we choose our major based on a job or a career that we think we want to have. And then we come to a campus and, lots of different opportunities start presenting themselves, maybe things that we didn't even know existed. And so those first 2 years, what we really want to do is we want to work with the students one-on-one. We want to sit down with them. We want to start drafting a resume, start having those conversations of, what are some of your interests? What are some of your goals? Now, how are we going to get you to where your goal is? So by starting with that resume piece, it kind of helps you to say, this is your starting point. This is what you're coming in with. This is where you want to be. And these are all of the things along the way that, should you choose to engage in them, could help you. And we often have a lot of students that come in and say, I chose this major because it was interesting to me in high school, or I think this is what I want to do, but I'm not really sure. And we can kind of help walk through that process as well. We do offer some assessments within the office that would take a look at things like your interests, your personality, your strengths. So those do help to guide some of those conversations. We certainly have a robust alumni group that is always willing to help. They love an opportunity to give back. So in giving back of their time and helping to support somebody is certainly within their wheelhouse. And then we can also help to connect students to various opportunities. So we have an impact office on campus that goes out there and does community projects. That's a great way to help to clarify some of the interests. If your student chooses to engage in different student clubs and organizations on campus, great way to build leadership skills. Even sometimes just a conversation around the value of their part-time job. It's always amazing to us, we'll be working on a resume and the student will say, well, I just work at Wegmans, or I'm just a server. And we really help to kind of take the just out of that statement and help them to identify, working in a customer service role, not everyone's able to do that. Now, what does that really look like? What are your responsibilities? And how does that translate to the next steps and kind of building upon what you already know? So freshman and sophomore year, we would say theme is get started. Bridget, next slide. So by junior year, this is really where we want to get ready, right? So we have a better idea of who we are and what we're looking to do. The goal would be that those first couple of years, they've had an opportunity to kind of delve into the content of the major while also maybe practicing or putting into play some of the content into real practical experiences. By junior year, we would hope that all students are in the process of securing internships. And for some, research might be more applicable. So we don't want to, it could be one or the other. We want to work more closely with them on learning how to tell their story. So it's one thing to apply for an opportunity. It's another thing to secure the opportunity through the interview process. And so we will work one-on-one with the students in developing their interviewing skills. We also try to connect with junior level courses. So we are embedded into a number of courses throughout various majors in which students are required to come to our office, have their resume and cover letter critiqued, do a practice interview with actual employers. So if students don't reach out to us, we have a lot of outreach efforts to them. So at some point they will, engage in this process. We also like to connect with student clubs and organizations on campus. So we have a number of clubs and organizations that are related to majors and interests. And so we will go in and help to facilitate workshops there. We will bring employers in that are directly related to those clubs and organizations. And so then we also offer a variety of skill building or professional development workshops throughout the year. So many of them are co-hosted with our employer partners, and some of them are hosted by alumni. Next slide. And then by senior year, our focus is really on getting hired. And so we say get hired, but we do recognize that for some students, graduate school might be their next step after Niagara. For many, it might be an employment opportunity. And so senior year, we're always revisiting those professional development skills. So like the resume, the cover letter, the interviewing, the networking. We're really encouraging students to attend as many career events as possible. We do host very major specific events. We host an all majors career fair. And then we also have a good number of employers that want to come to campus each year and do information sessions. So whether that's during the day, whether it's an evening event, employers are certainly looking to gain access to our students. We also encourage students to join the Niagara University alumni group on LinkedIn. If there's something that I have learned over my time working at NU is once a purple eagle, always a purple eagle. So that, we end up being one of those first stops. If they have an opportunity, they'll reach out to one of us and say, do you have any current students or recent alumni that are looking for a job. I'd love to have another NU alum join my team. And so a lot of times they'll post through our office, but then they'll also post within the alumni group. We have certainly found that senior year, a lot of our time is spent having conversations about the appropriate way to accept, decline, and negotiate offers. And I could tell you that today, we certainly are seeing an increase in the power, if you will, of the job seeker. And so we've had a lot of conversations over the last year with students where, you know, they thought that they wanted to join one employer, but then they get another offer, and it might be a difference of, you know, monetary difference, location, time off, all of those things, and kind of how do you navigate that process while not burning bridges along the way, right? And so we become one of those partners to help them throughout that. Next slide. So I only put a handful of our employer partners on this slide. We actually launched this past year an employer advisory board, or partnership board, I should say. And these are the partners that are part of that board. And what has yielded from these conversations is certainly ways in which employers are interested in helping. And so, as many of you are already aware, most employers are seeking employees. They're struggling to kind of to fill their workforce. And so, outside of this is who we are, and we just want to post an opportunity at a university, they're certainly looking to become even more engaged than they once were before. And they are certainly looking to source employees earlier than they once were before. And so through working with these various employers, we are coming up with action steps and ways that we can engage, that they can engage students even starting their freshman year. And so I would encourage you to encourage your student that if they happen to be walking through Gallagher or any of the academic buildings, or if they get an email that says, you know, this employer is on campus and this is where you can find them, even if they're thinking to themselves, I'm not looking for a job, like that's way down the road. It's always good to go in, just have those first conversations. And I would say that oftentimes, even if you think you know what a company does, you might not always see yourself there based on their brand, but there are certainly other opportunities beyond even just face value of what you think that they do. And so having those conversations is definitely critical. Once you come to orientation, after you attend orientation, you'll receive a postcard home from us, which will be encouraging your student to claim their Handshake account. And so Handshake is our career management system. We call it our Get Hired portal. And through Handshake, that's where all events are managed, all of our job postings, whether that's part-time, internship, full-time. It is also where employers can connect with students. So claiming that account really starts the process of at least getting them engaged in one of the resources that the career office has to offer your student. So next slide is gonna be Krista, and she's going to talk about student employment and next steps for federal work study.
So, hello everyone. We have two different types of employment for students on our campus. One is the federal work study program, and the other would be your part-time temp employment. So first I'm going to just speak to you about the work study program. So not every student is eligible for the federal work study program, but for those students who have it in their package and have accepted it, just want to give you kind of an idea of what happens next. So let's say that you've accepted that award and it's in your package. You're going to be assigned, you'll be given information about summer orientation, and there will be a time slot. It's usually day one, right first thing in the morning, where you will come to meet with myself and some of the individuals from the financial aid office. My role in the federal work-study program is that I see all the students and I help them to decide where they're going to be working on campus, where the financial aid office obviously handles the money aspect of it. So we meet during some orientation because we've realized that, again, there's a lot thrown at these students in summer orientation. There's a lot of new things. So they usually have either a parent or a guardian or somebody with them, somebody that's supporting them with them. And so when they come in, they're going to fill out their necessary paperwork. We have samples so that they know what to fill out, but it's always a little bit easier, I think, if somebody is with them. And they also have to bring in their ID. So with that is either a passport, or they would need two forms of ID, which would be a picture ID and either a social security card or a picture ID and an original birth certificate. So what's nice is that we're able to make the copies of their ID, get their paperwork filled out, so that they can get that taken care of. And if you didn't want to send your student to campus with their passport or maybe their social security card, they wouldn't have to bring it at that time. This is also important because there is a form that I have that it's purple, and this gives me an idea of the students and what they're coming in with, what interests them, maybe some of the skills they might have, and it gives them a chance to kind of voice where they might want to go. So what's unique about Niagara University is that if you have been offered work study and you accept it, you're guaranteed a placement. So we don't have it where the students have to go out and kind of compete for it. What we do is we are going to guarantee your student a placement. But with that, I really like to have the students have a voice in where they go. I'm not going to just stick them anywhere. Obviously, I have to go with where the openings are because we do have renewals. Students usually keep their work study for all 4 years. So with that, on this paperwork, it gives them an idea of, they can put some things down so that when we are meeting, I have a better idea of where they are interested in. So the other thing that they will do during that summer orientation meeting would be sign up for their placement appointment. That's going to be with me. We used to be the first couple weeks of the semester, but we've changed that. Once everything went virtual anyway, it kind of became a little bit easier to speak with the students when they're still at home via Google Meet. It's usually about a 20-minute conversation with the student, and we have decide where they're going to be placed. A lot of the placements are pretty easy to understand what they'd be doing, and so it's more or less a conversation, and then they'll know where they're going to be going. Some departments, though, do require an interview. So the students will have plenty of instructions on what their next steps are to do once they're finished with the appointment with me. It might be to shoot an email to their supervisor, set up another Google Meet as an interview type of situation. Nothing is too hard, and I'm always available at any time during the process to answer any questions that might come up. Because again, I do realize that these are brand new to the university, brand new to college, and it is a little bit, some students handle it very easily and some kind of are a little nervous, I guess you could say. And then during that summer orientation meeting, it's just a chance that you can talk to, like I said, somebody from financial aid or myself and ask questions about how the process works. If you have any questions, that's what's happening at that summer orientation meeting. Students are usually required to work about 11 to 12 hours per week over the course of 15 weeks in each semester. They fill out a deferment form that is for student accounts. So that kind of explains how you all decide that you want the money to be paid out. So you can have up to 90% applied to your tuition. But honestly, you can set it up however you want. It could be 50% applied to tuition, 50% in a paycheck for your student. And the great thing is that you can change it at any time throughout the semester. So let's say, your student is needing a little bit more extra money in their pocket, maybe not as much as going to go to the tuition right now. You can change that at any time. So these are the things that kind of give you an idea of how this process works. The great thing, the part that I love the most is that I get to see these students. I get to meet with them in summer orientation, then I get to meet with them again when they're at home. And then they have to come and see me to fill out one form once they get on campus. And that's the form that they take to their departments to get started. So now that's 3 times that I've already met with them. So at least they have a familiar face on campus where they kind of know me a little bit. So I get students all the time stopping in to see me with completely questions that have nothing to do with maybe the federal work study program, but at least they know that they can come to see me and I'm going to be able to help them. So I kind of love that because it gets them engaged with us early on. And then I've noticed that those students tend to come back, and they're the ones that are really prepared because throughout their time at Niagara, we have other professional development opportunities for these students, meaning we might set up a time where they're going to come in and do, whether it's a practice interview or whether it's a resume cover letter, I can show them how to put their work study position on their resume. Things like that, they're pretty much ready to go. So I get to see them from the beginning, and then I get to work with them usually right up until the end when they're getting ready to graduate, and it's a really cool thing. So that would be a little piece of understanding how the federal work study program works. Now, your student might not have it in their package, but that does not mean that they're not eligible for the work study program. So we also have a work study wait list. This is legitimately a 2-minute form. That's a Google form that I can send any student that is interested. So how that works is that I take the students that already have it in their package and I place all of them first. I'd say around the 3rd week of the fall semester, that's when I get to look at the remaining placements, and then I get to look at the wait list. That's when I'll check eligibility of the students on the wait list. So I'm going to check that eligibility, and then I will use those students that are on that wait list to fill any of the remaining placements. So even if your student doesn't have work study in their package right now, doesn't necessarily mean that they couldn't have it. Now, not every student is eligible though. So with that, we do have what's called part-time temporary employment. It's basically like a part-time job. Different departments on campus pay those students out of their budget. So I will tell you that that is definitely a little bit more limited and a little bit more competitive. So if your student is interested in working a part-time job on campus, because let's say they don't have a car or for whatever reason, they just would like to feel a little more comfortable on campus, I will tell you they should stop by and see either myself or Tina in our office. We can kind of guide them on where to look for those opportunities. They're also on Handshake, some of those opportunities, but I know that when students are first getting started, they might not be super familiar yet with Handshake, so I wouldn't want them to miss out on an opportunity just because they're not, real used to using Handshake just yet. And the reason why I tell you this is because those positions fill up very quickly. So if your student, maybe offhand, I can tell you right now, my student is probably not eligible for work study. They really want a job on campus. I would say to get in touch with us even the week before. They can shoot me an email, and we can kind of give them an idea of some of the places that hire students that would be non-work study. Some examples are the bookstore, Mets, our food service, admissions handles, they hire like tour guides, but quite honestly, freshmen aren't probably ideal for that yet because they're not used to the campus yet, but it's something to keep in mind. Dwyer Arena, they have the pro shop, they have some positions there. The library sometimes does. So these are reasons to get moving on it quite quickly and not to kind of drag your feet if that's something that your student is interested in. But like I said, if your student does not have work study in their package, but they are interested in it, my email, and maybe I could probably put it in the chat in a minute, but just send me a quick email and I can already get them on it. It, like I said, takes 2 minutes to fill out. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the work study program.
So something that I hope that you've had an opportunity to kind of learn along your way, whether it be at an open house where you've heard people speak, this conversation tonight, is that Niagara University is full of people that want to help, right? So I think one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is being a community of care. And I can tell you that in the Career Services office, our office is full of people that are parents. And so a lot of times when students come in, we end up having some of those, hard conversations with them to help guide them in the direction that they need to go. We also want to make sure that all students have equal opportunity against their peers. So a couple of things that we have implemented over the last year. One is we have what's called our Career Discovery Internship Program, and that is a stipend that students can apply for if they are doing an unpaid internship in either nonprofit or public service. So thank you to a donor, we have the ability to give out approximately $42,000 stipends annually to students to support those types of internship opportunities. So what we don't want is a student to say, you know, I can't afford to give up my part-time job and do an internship because I'm helping to pay for my tuition or whatever other commitments they have. So, you know, we have found that the internship stipend can make a difference for many students in terms of accessing those opportunities. We also have a career clothes closet. So if students are going on an interview and maybe, you know, they're not close to home, but they need a suit or they just need professional attire, or they haven't had an opportunity to bring some or just can't get some, you know, it is completely, you know, up to them. They just pop in, say they want access to it. We will help them source an outfit, or they can handle it on their own. And if there is nothing there that happens to be their size and they're really in need, we certainly encourage them to talk to us, because, you know, there are times when we have alums that are able to help to support a student need within that regard. This upcoming academic year, we actually are going to be able to offer paid internships on campus. So we're piloting that as a program in which different campus departments can secure funding to pay students for internship opportunities. And then through collaborative efforts with other departments, we currently have students that are doing paid internships with nonprofits in the city of Niagara Falls in terms of capacity building, and that is being funded through a grant. And then we have some other students that are doing telehealth, also through a grant. So we are certainly seeking opportunities that if employers are not able to pay student interns, we are trying to find ways to supplement that, to kind of level the playing field for everybody, because we all feel that strongly that internships are certainly a student's gateway into full-time employment opportunities. And so the university is putting quite a good deal of support behind those efforts. You know, with the goal in mind, I know us in career services, and I think I can speak for a lot of the faculty as well, and the administrators on the campus, in saying that, you know, we don't want students to graduate without that hands-on experience, whatever, you know, way, shape, or form that happens, because we know that that will give them that leg up for the next opportunity. So with that said, I encourage, if you have questions, feel free, pop them in the chat. I think Bridget was going to monitor that. You're also welcome to unmute and ask a question. We're really happy to have an opportunity to speak with all of you tonight.
Thank you both so much. That was super, super important, informative. Oh my goodness, and important too. We do have a question from the chat box. For Canadian and international students, are they able to apply to work on campus? So I'm guessing that's the non-work study options for them, right?
Yes. So federal work study program, they would not be eligible, but yes, they can apply to work on campus. The way it would work is that, again, they would have to secure the employment. And then once that happens, there's a whole process. They have to get a hiring letter from the department, and then they would see Serena Munzie on our campus. And she supplies them with a letter that they would take to the Social Security office, where they would get a Social Security card, and then they would work with Tina to fill out the paperwork that is necessary. So it takes a tiny bit longer to get them cleared, because they have to go through that process of getting a Social Security card, unless they might already have one, but usually this is the first time for that, and but it is doable. But that's why it's super important, if it is something that they would want to do to, you know, hit the ground running right at the beginning of the semester. It's also something where they're not able to work more than 20 hours a week, which actually is pretty much the rule for students. Work study students are only about 12 hours, but part-time they can work slightly more, but no more than usually 20 hours. It's really important for the students to be academically successful first and foremost, so they don't want to overdo it with the hours that they're working.
Awesome. We have another question in the chat. Please review what the incoming freshmen should do regarding Handshake. Will they sign up for that during orientation, or should it be something they should do now through the NU portal?
Yep, so one of us will actually introduce Handshake to the students during one of the sessions at orientation. And then once a student has a schedule, IT uploads the students into Handshake and they have to claim their account. So at that point in time, when they're able to claim the account, we are going to send a postcard home with the instructions of how to claim. So we'll talk to the students about it, and hopefully we'll be in a room where we can kind of demo a little bit of that for them and talk to them about the value of being engaged on Handshake, because that's where our employers are. And then we will certainly follow up with that postcard home, clarifying the next action steps. So ideally, they've claimed their account by the time they step foot on campus in the fall.
But we also would welcome anyone to stop in the office, because those are some of our favorite surprises, are when a student walks in and they're really excited about getting on Handshake. We're super pumped about that. So it's not like they need ever an appointment to come into our office. We definitely love walk-ins. If we can see them, we will. If we can't, we'll get them right on the schedule. But for something like Handshake, even Shannon, who is our administrative assistant up front, everyone in our office can help them get on Handshake. So it's kind of an important thing to get going. So they can definitely stop by if there's ever an issue with trying to get on it and navigating it from home.
Can you guys touch a little bit more on the Career Expo we have each year? Because I know that's huge and the most exciting thing ever.
Sure. So typically late March, we have an all majors career fair. We've topped out at 125 employers this year, after not have had an in-person career fair since 2019. We were close to 100 employers and 500 students that attended the event. And so the employers that opt into attending, they're looking to hire part-time, full-time, internship, summer employment. All industries are represented. There certainly is opportunities for everyone in terms of different employers that they can talk to. And one of the things that we did differently this year than in previous years is we made it a point to kind of be everywhere that we could prior to the event. So there wasn't, a student that didn't know what was going on that day. And what we did see is an increase in the number of underclassmen that attended the event. And the employers were very much impressed by that, that we had students that, were just kind of their information gathering. And so that certainly is an annual event. We're always looking to grow it. We do try to certainly make it something that's fun. We have t-shirt giveaways. One year we had Praxair and Perry's Ice Cream that partnered together, and they made ice cream there. Praxair will bring things to freeze flowers. And so it's not just this stuffy experience of walking table to table and talking to people. One of the great things is typically close to half of our tables are staffed by alums. So they love an opportunity to come back. They can, really talk to the students about different courses that they've been taking, and it's a really great, engaging event. And it's never too early to attend. So, we certainly do recommend that, first year as well.
That event is awesome. They sometimes even do like LinkedIn photos. So if you need your headshot for your LinkedIn, I never had that opportunity. So that was always a really great option for me to kind of build my resume as a student and things like that too. And also from the student perspective, it's great practice just introducing yourself in that professional atmosphere, shaking hands, presenting your resume to others, sitting for impromptu interviews and things like that too. So that's a wonderful opportunity for your students, even as a freshman coming in. I definitely recommend you encourage them to attend that event. It doesn't look like we have any other questions in the chat box. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? Oh, here's another one. When you speak of the financial aid package, was that something that was mailed and included in the financial aid offer?
Yes, I believe so. So the way that it works is how I'm told. So I'm not exactly the expert because it's not my department, but I do know that when the students get their package, when they first get that financial aid package sent home, and I feel like that might have been maybe around February-ish, depending on when your student applied, it would have been possibly something in there. Now, here's the deal. The reason why I say that there are students out there that are eligible that might not have it in there is because we don't offer it to everyone eligible, because we do like to be unique in the fact that we will guarantee the students that have it in their package. So I do think it has to do with when you accept the package, and that's when it's a done deal, I guess, with the way that it's offered to you. But again, something that you could contact the financial aid office for sure and ask them about. But that's why I tell any student interested to fill out that waitlist application, only because it might just have been the timing. I know there's multiple things that go into whether or not a student is eligible for federal work study. I know it has to do with, just several different things. So because of that, I don't want anyone to just assume they're not because it wasn't in their package. I guess that's and I do have, if your student is eligible, even if I don't have enough left over in the fall, I can absolutely get them something by the spring, because we do have students that graduate in December. We have students that are student teaching, studying abroad. So those have vacancies then. So I have very good luck getting students that are eligible, but like I said, not all students are. But yes, it should have been something that you would have seen in your financial aid package. Sometimes students will say, I know I'm eligible because I saw it, but I just didn't have it. And so it might even be worded like that. So definitely something, if you feel like you would like to have further, clarification, I would recommend contacting the financial aid office.
Yeah, super important to have your student log into WebAdvisor and just check off to secure and lock in their financial aid offer. So that's another step on top of registering for SUMO as soon as possible. So another step that you can work on with your student. Do we have any additional questions, concerns? This has been awesome tonight. I am not clear on what you are talking about. So we were just discussing the federal side of work study. So that's included in a student's financial aid package. If you have questions or concern about your student's financial aid package, you can reach out to the admissions office or the financial aid office, and we can talk through that for you. Any other questions or concerns? Of course, we're happy to help. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Krista, for this amazing information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to them. They've put their emails in the chat box. If you have any concerns about next steps for your child into becoming a Purple Eagle, feel free to reach out to admissions@niagara.edu. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.